And maybe you speak to what is coming in from Tanzania, if at all. Yes.
Thank you, sir. I'm David Gitonga, County Commissioner, Migori. One, I would want to say that the charge has been lack of partnership between the two states. It is true, they grow baggy, but they say the market is in Kenya. We've come up with an elaborate measure to ensure that we're able to partner with them, the security officers from that other side, so that we can be able to counter the threat. And I think, sir, you had given us authority, and we are at an advanced stage. Number two, we have the charge of security. As I'm studying here, sir, I can confirm that there is an officer, assistant chief, who was attacked by Brewers. And up to date, that person has not been arrested. So I would request, if it is possible, we need to explore the mechanism in which we can have, as area planned. I remember during the Rate Michoke's time, chiefs were to be given 5 APs for security. That will enable them be able to move about and even be able to raid the dens. The other issue is a lack of security rules. In our area, we have a wide porous border, and we do not have security roads. The officers cannot also be able to move around and also even man the areas. So the element of that border needs to be looked at. The other issue that we need to look at is the issue of, with several gazetted police stations, police posts, which are not even equipped. They do not have officers, and they are just there, they are gazetted. So even if they are, those are the entries, especially if you look at area like Suna West, Timaru, and Mabera, there is nothing the officers can be able to do. They are far away. In fact, we find some area sub-counties with about 3 sub-counties manned by 1 sub-county police commander, 1 DCI, 1 CIC. All those are challenges which are making it a bit difficult for the work to move on. The other issue that needs to be addressed, and it is a challenge so that we can be able to work on it, is the issue of the judiciary and ODPP. You'll find our officers have been able to arrest the traders. But at the end of the day, it has to go to the government chemist for tests. At the end of the day, you might end up having confiscated about even 10,000 tons of ethanol, but at the end of the day, it will be tested, it becomes water. So there comes an issue of even camps and counterfeit and KRA. The other issue I would also want to present, sir, is the issue of public-private partnership. We've seen we can be able to check on brewing if we can be able to engage stakeholders in the brewing industry. For instance, oil is not lost in Migori. In Mabera sub-county, we have illicit brew-free sub-location and also a location. What we've done is that we've been able to partner with Kenya breweries. They support the reformed brewers. They provide them with the jerry cans for the Senator Brews. Then they are provided, they pay for them in installment. The county government waives the fees such that you can even be able to pay for maybe in installment. Then from there, we've been able to move ahead, and I think we're doing very well. I think with that one, I think
thank you.
We are not lost.
So then the county police commander for Marsabit, and then lastly, I would ask the RCIO Coast to close the session. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Excellency. My name is Patrick Mwakio. I'm the County Police Commander in Marsabit. I want to say that we've got a few challenges, but last year in November we sat as a team and we put strategies in place, and I believe these strategies have really helped us because we are now working as a multi-sectoral team. We've been able to arrest a few consignments coming from Ethiopia. That is cannabis sativa and also heroin and cocaine. We share a very long porous border with our neighboring country, about 600 kilometers. Our officers are determined and they are all out to ensure that everything is in order and crime is managed effectively, sir. That is all I can say as for now, and I want to assure you that our officers will keep up the good work they are doing and bring everything to place. Thank you so much, Your Excellency.
The RCIO cost.
Good morning, Your Excellency. My name is Adan Guyo, the RCIO cost. I've just reported 3 days ago. I took over the office and we embarked on working together with other teams. We've made several arrests of drug traffickers, the peddlers, and we are still continuing, and I promise that we'll perform and we are up to the task. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we'll be able to respond and also enter into a discussion after we are through with the press. And I want to say, Coast, well done. Please do your job. We were there the other week, and the leaders are abusing us because of saying there is a problem with the coast. They must live with the truth. They want us to pretend that there is no problem at the coast. And when we call for a meeting to discuss a serious problem of the people they lead, they don't come. But they want to go to press conference to say that there is no problem. There is a problem at the coast, and it's a big one. And our officers will do what they need to do. The leaders who want to join in can join in. Those who don't wish to join in, it's okay. And as we are never distracted by those abuses and irresponsible talk, because we must do our job. And one of the things that this administration does is to be truthful. We don't hide the truth. Where there is a problem, we say there is a problem. Where we have a problem with our officers, we say we have a problem, so that we can be able to deal with it. So I think what we do, let us have the statement read, then we will request the press now to proceed and file their stories, and we'll be left now here for an in-house meeting to discuss security matters, operational matters that obviously we cannot discuss in a full view of the cameras, not because we have anything to hide, but because of the nature of security operations. They are confidential. So let me take this opportunity to welcome our CS for National Security, Professor Kindiki, to come and communicate to the people of Kenya. Karibu, Professor.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya. My colleagues from the Cabinet, Attorney General Justin Muturi, and my sister, Cabinet Secretary Rebecca Miano, and all the senior officers present here from all ranks, PSs, Inspector General of Police, the DIGs, RCs, county commissioners, and the rest of the senior officers present here. Your Excellency, sir. Mine is to communicate the decision of the government of Kenya to notify the people of Kenya of government action aimed at eradicating illicit brews, drugs, and substance abuse in the country. His Excellency Dr. William Ruto, the President, among other things, was elected on the premise of restoring the dignity to the people of Kenya, especially those at the bottom of the socio-economic pyramid. To do so, the President identified key areas that require radical legal, policy, administrative, and operational reforms. Illicit brews, drugs, and substance abuse, majorly among teenagers, the youth, and even the elderly, are not only a grave social concern, but is now an existential threat to the well-being and sustainable future of our country. These brews, drugs, and substances are directly and negatively impacting on economic growth and development, ruining lives and livelihoods, occasioning family disintegration, facilitating crime, and the spread of disease, including HIV and AIDS, and indeed, fellow Kenyans, brews that are illegal, drugs, and substances are now a major national security threat and also a threat to public health across the country. Every household in Kenya today hosts and can relate to incidences of alcohol and drug abuse. No family has been spared. If your family has been spared, your neighbor's family has not been spared. It is on this basis that the President assigned the Deputy President, His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua, the role of leading the war on illicit brews, drugs, and substance abuse. Strategic consultative regional meetings bringing together senior security officers, national government administration officers, members of parliament and county assemblies, lead ministries and agencies, religious groups, opinion leaders, and the community have been held in Mount Kenya region, Lower Eastern region, Rift Valley, and Coast region. Key regulators within the pharmaceutical and veterinary fields have been activated to similarly moderate the illegal and irregular use of regulated prescription drugs that have now begun to find their way among youth in Mombasa and Northeastern, and are now a leading cause of substance abuse. And this demonstrates that the problem is now essentially a national problem. No region, no part of the country is free. From these consultations, gaps have been identified and progress is now being made on the legislative, administrative, institutional, and enforcement fronts. 11 counties are at different stages of development developing model alcoholic drinks control laws, with Nyandarua County having led the pace in securing full enactment of a now enhanced licensing and enforcement framework. Law enforcement officials found complicit in the manufacture and trade of illicit alcohol and substances have been severely disciplined already. The screening, rehabilitation, and reintegration of victims of alcohol and drug abuse has also been enhanced. But there have been some drawbacks. Last month, the country lost more than 20 lives in one village in Kirinyaga County to poison packaged as alcohol by the merchants of death. This, fellow Kenyans, is unacceptable. This trajectory must be contained before it escalates into a national disaster. For this reason, the government of Kenya has today, under the direction of His Excellency the President, convened all regional and county national government administration officers and security teams, including county police commanders from the Kenya Police Service, the Administration Police Service, and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, backed by relevant sector regulators. The consultations have not only identified the internal failures and fractured approaches that have facilitated these vices, but similarly reiterated the critical role that the national administration and security architecture will now be required to play in the restoration of the dignity and utility to a generation that would otherwise be lost. As previously indicated, the trade, consumption, and abuse of illicit alcohol, narcotic drugs, and psychotropic substances now ranks as one of the 5 key national security threats that include terrorism, banditry and livestock rustling, cultural, religious, and political extremism, and climate change. And therefore, this war that we announce commencing today is a war about the future of Kenya. This war that we launch here today is about the viability and sustainability of our republic. We have therefore the duty to communicate to all members of the public that the war that we launch today is not just a time-bound operation, it's a perpetual war which will continue as long as Kenya exists, or as long as the problem exists, whichever comes earlier. Therefore, where we have placed terrorists who plot to harm our country, the organized criminals terrorizing parts of our country, pretending to be cattle thieves, where we have placed religious, cultural, and political extremists who have hurt the country so badly in the past, including the recent event in Shakahola. This is the same place we have placed all those in Kenya who are engaged in one way or the other in the manufacture, distribution, sale, and I dare say even consumption of illicit drugs, narcotics, psychotropic substances, and illicit liquor. And since this is about the future of the country, this is squarely a national security matter. This statement has taken time to situate why we are here. Right from the instructions of the President to his deputy, to the directives of the President through the National Security Council, and the rest of us. Therefore, any officer present here or watching from elsewhere who think this is the usual time-bound periodic security operations is in for a rude shock. As I said, what we start today will continue as long as Kenya exists or as long as the problem exists, whichever comes earlier. If the problem goes earlier, we stop the operation. If it doesn't end, we continue with the operation until the end of the world. Therefore, the government has adopted a national security posture in the management of this scourge. And by this, it must be clarified that as a national security threat, politics, culture, religion, and other antecedents that always cloud our national conversations are removed from this matter. It is purely a law enforcement matter. It's not political, it's not ethnic, it's not religious, it has nothing to do even with the economics of our country. And some of the measures, you will understand, are measures that will include government losing revenue, if that will help us save the nation. In that regard, I am authorized to announce the following measures that will guide this very critical national survival exercise. 1. Pursuant to Section 42K of the Preservation of Public Security Act, all licenses and certification permits for second-generation alcohol and alcoholic beverage distillers and manufacturers issued by the Kenya Revenue Authority and the Kenya Bureau of Standards stand suspended with immediate effect. All existing valid licenses will be vetted afresh within 21 days of this directive, with premises approved to resume operations only upon receipt of fresh approval. 2. Pursuant to number 1 above, the Ministry of Interior and National Administration invites all currently licensed manufacturers and distillers to a meeting to be held on Tuesday, the 12th March 2024 at 10 a.m. on the above prescription. Due notification, including venue and agenda, will be communicated to those who this information relates. 3. Fresh license applications shall require manufacturers to have quality control laboratories installed with gas chromatography, with flame ionization detectors, and this must be operated by competent laboratory analysts and tests incoming raw materials and finished products before releasing them to the market. The laboratories should register with a provider of inter-laboratory comparison and submit their quality control results to the Kenya Bureau of Standards on monthly basis. For the avoidance of doubt, fresh license applications shall require manufacturers to have quality control laboratories installed with gas chromatography with flame ionization detectors. Number 4, all alcohol manufacturers shall henceforth establish and document all traders in their distribution chain and have procedures for ensuring full traceability from factory to the consumer of alcoholic products manufactured for sale. All alcoholic products shall include traceability information, including manufacturer details, location, ingredients, and content. Number 5, the Kenya Bureau of Standards shall ensure that within 45 days, all industrial ethanol is denatured or marked with a denaturing agent known as denatonium benzoate to prevent diversion and or the accidental use of industrial ethanol in alcohol manufacture. Number 6, any licenses currently issued to bars and other outlets, premises by county governments that are contrary to the provisions of the Alcoholic Drinks and Control Act, especially as relates to licensing premises within residential areas and around basic educational institutions, are declared null and void. County security teams are to secure and shut down and seize such premises with immediate effect. The licenses that have been issued contrary to the Alcoholic Drinks Control Act, which is national legislation, which supersedes county legislation. Licensing of bars which are in residential areas, licensing of bars next to educational institutions, all those licenses are declared, and county security teams across the country must enforce the law that I have just cited with immediate effect. Number 7, no bars or alcoholic outlets shall be allowed to operate beyond the stipulated operation hours as provided for in Article 34 of the Alcoholic Drinks Control Act, failure to which the operator shall be fined or imprisoned as provided by law, and all the drinks and related accessories in the premises will be forfeited with accompanying licenses being revoked. I also need to clarify that the government has also engaged with the Director of Public Prosecutions and also other stakeholders, including the judiciary, all stakeholders in the administration of justice. And one of the results of that engagement is that the Director of Public Prosecutions has assured the country that its office will be going for auxiliary orders against those who perpetuate the vice of either manufacture, transportation, distribution, sale of alcohol. And those auxiliary orders, which are already provided in law, include forfeiture of any motor vehicle that is transporting narcotics or other illicit substances, that those vehicles be forfeited to the state, and also forfeiture of premises that are used to store merchandise which falls in the category of our discussion this morning. And number 7, just to clarify that we must respect the laws that exist on hours when bars can be open. And if the hours when bars can be open are provided by law, it therefore means those are the same hours that the people of Kenya can enjoy their leisure in taking alcohol. The people of Kenya must go home when that time expires. They must proceed home. And they must leave before those hours and make sure that they reach home in good time, because I'm told the speed of mobility when one is intoxicated is a bit slow. Because we don't want to collect Kenyans in dirty ditches, so they should go a little earlier. But anybody found taking alcohol or selling alcohol after those hours, we will do what we must. Number 8, all manufacturers, distillers who are aware of counterfeits of their products and fail to report to the Anti-Counterfeit Authority on the same shall be deemed complicit. Licensed manufacturers will be required to furnish county security teams with the geolocation and physical details of their licensed premises, as well as stock records per licensed premises. Any other physical premises stocking, manufacturing, and housing manufactured stocks will be deemed illegal stocks for destruction. Number 9, Section 17A of the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances stipulates that a law enforcement officer or public officer who aids and abets any offense under the Act, including concealing the commission of any offense and collusion, shall be liable to punishment. In this regard, officers abetting, concealing, or colluding with any person to commit an offense under the Alcoholic Drinks Act or even under the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Act shall be liable in accordance with the law. The policy has also been given that no person who undermines the interest of our national security will be transferred. No officer will be transferred if they are culpable of undermining our national security interest. We'll find a way of expediting your removal from service in the shortest time possible. And the other things we can discuss, including if you take us to court, we know what to do when you take us to court, and we are patient enough to wait for hearings and appeal until the Supreme Court. By that time, Kenya will be on the move. Further, number 10, and in line with the Public Ethics Act, all public officers in the enforcement and compliance chain, namely the Kenya Revenue Authority, the Kenya Bureau of Standards, and the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, Public Health, NACADA, Ngao, National Police Service, and everybody else, shall not own and operate a bar directly or through a proxy. All public officers currently operating such premises are required to shut them down or resign from the service with immediate effect. Cross-referencing of the Public Service with the Public Service Commission, National Police Service Commission, and distinct agency staff records shall be undertaken to ensure compliance thereof. Number 11, all landlords or premises owners shall be deemed aiders and abettors thereof and be liable for renting out space for establishment of bars, wines and spirits outlets in prohibited areas pursuant to section 20C of the Penal Code, Cap 63 of the laws of Kenya. 12, all chemists and agrovets must submit their licenses to the Pharmacy and Poisons Board and the Veterinary Medicine Directorate for verification within 30 days from today, failure to which they shall be deemed unlicensed for closure. All licensed and non-compliant drug manufacturers, agrovets, and chemists are to be shut down with immediate effect. The list of currently approved and licensed establishments have been shared with county security teams for reference. 13, all licensed pharmacists and veterinary doctors dispensing prescription drugs without prescription shall be deregistered. All licensed chemists or pharmacists and agrovets, when issuing prescription drugs, shall mandatorily issue a certification of the issuing chemist or agrovet, name and license number of the issuing officer for purposes of tracing or traceability. 14, all vehicles, buildings used in storage, manufacturing, trafficking in illegal drugs, illicit brews, and alcohol shall, pursuant to Section 74 of the Narcotic Drugs and Psychotropic Substances Control Act, be seized and deemed to be government property. 15, the Ministry of Interior and National Administration and the Ministry of Health shall put in place measures for branding and color specification of all alcoholic and tobacco distribution vehicles. Further, such products are to be transported between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. only. The guidelines to be issued within 14 days from this directive, with manufacturers expected to secure full implementation within 45 days. 16, a multi-stakeholder approach has been instituted to strengthen surveillance, enforcement, and compliance at all levels, led by the national government administrative officers who are the chairpersons of the security and intelligence committees in their various jurisdictions. 17, surveillance at the border points will be undertaken through a multi-agency framework with key actors including the Kenya Bureau of Standards, Immigration, the Kenya Revenue Authority, the National Police Service, and the Anti-Counterfeit Agency. 18, to enforce compliance on package or packaging according to the Alcoholic Drinks Control Act, the Kenya Bureau of Standards shall within 60 days from the date hereof review the guidelines on the minimum quantity of alcoholic drinks to enhance the same from 250 milliliters to 750 milliliters or higher. 19, all enforcement agencies shall undertake integrity vetting of all officers manning our border points, highways, and regional offices. Only officers of integrity and good standing will be appointed to conduct surveillance at the border points, and highways, especially Namanga, Isebania, Moyale, Isiolo, and all the other affected areas. 20. The importation, manufacture, sale, use, advertisement, promotion, or distribution of shisha is outlawed in the country. Any establishment found in breach of this provision will be shut down with immediate effect. County security teams are required to enforce this prescription without fail. 21. The labeling and packaging of all tobacco products in Kenya must comply with the provisions of the Tobacco Control Act of 2007 and the Tobacco Control Regulations of 2014. Products that do not comply must be withdrawn from the market immediately. 22. The National Treasury is urged to fast track the harmonization of custom and excise duty of ethanol within the East African region to prevent arbitrage within 45 days. Further, within 60 days, the National Treasury shall conclude taxation proposals towards the following: A, incorporation of a model of taxation based on alcohol content. B, review the taxation framework for beer and other non-spirituous alcoholic drinks to mitigate the risk of harmful effects. And C, mandatory adoption of digital Kenya Bureau of Standards and Kenya Revenue Authority stamps for all alcohol and alcohol-based products, and the withdrawal of physical stamps. 23. The Ministry of Health is urged to issue directives for all level 3 and above hospitals to establish dedicated rehabilitation wards or facilities for victims of substance abuse, drugs, and illicit alcohol in line with the existing norms and standards and in consultations with the county governments. 24. Parliament is required to prioritize and fast-track the processing of all legislative interventions towards amendments to the Alcoholic Drinks Control Act, the Tobacco Control Act, the Public Health Act, the Pharmacy and Poisons Board Act, the Veterinary Medicines Directorate Regulations, and other accompanying regulations. In particular, the amendments to the Alcoholic Drinks Control Act shall ensure that county licensing is conditional on receipt of a clearance certificate from NACADA as a precondition for the issuance of license to sell, distribute, and otherwise deal with the alcoholic drinks. 25. All county security committees have received the existing approved and licensed lists of manufacturers, distillers, pharmacists, and agrovets. The committees are hereby directed to shut down and destroy all illicit manufacturing installations, distilleries, agrovets, and chemists not within the approved list of licensed enterprises within 10 days of this directive. County Security Committee members will be held personally liable and subject to disciplinary action where an unlicensed manufacturing installation, distillery, agrovet, or chemist is found operating in their respective jurisdiction. Community and neighborhood committees and members of the public are required to support this initiative through the designated toll-free line 1192. I repeat, community and neighborhood committees and members of the public are invited and even required to support this initiative through the designated toll-free line 1192. Since this is a national security threat, the obligation of individual citizens to support this cause is also mandatory for the sake of our nation, because the duty to protect our nationhood and our constitutional order is a duty that binds every state organ, every arm of government, but it's also a duty that binds every individual. We must protect our nation together. Officers will be available to receive any complaints and concerns relating to the manufacture, trade, transportation, storage and consumption of illegal alcohol, drugs, and other substances. In conclusion, fellow Kenyans, the government appreciates the political leadership in Parliament, both houses, the National Assembly and Senate, and our 47 county assemblies within the Republic, county governors, leaders, and other leaders for their support in this war. We appreciate in particular the county governments that have adopted the county model laws. The government further appreciates the members of the public who routinely engage security officers to share information and reports on illicit and illegal alcohol, drugs, and other substances. This administration has made it abundantly clear that illicit alcohol, drugs, and substance abuse will not be tolerated in any form whatsoever. The need to demonstrate this cannot be gainsaid. In keeping with the administration's commitment, we as state officers here and our colleagues who are not here are bound to take responsibility and to meet the full consequences for any political and social ramifications. We are ready for this task. This operation is a national security operation and fall entirely within the remit of the law enforcement machinery of the state and its multi-agency collaborators. Political, business, religious, and other leaders are requested to abstain from interfering with this war so that we don't falter, as has happened in the past, because we must win the war. We must save Kenya. We must save our children from perishing. And this is the statement from the government of Kenya. Thank you, Excellency.
Thank you, Professor. You could not have been more clear. Mambo ndio hiyo. That is it. So watu ya magazeti muambie wa Kenya iko namna hiyo. Mchambue in all local languages so that they understand. So that mtu aseme hakuambiwa, and that's why we ask the media to broadcast this live for the people of Kenya. For officers of government you have heard. So maybe I request the media, you can take a break Mnaweza pitia hapo mkunywe chai.